Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I have a book called Horton Hatches the Egg by Dr. Seuss. Another Dr. Seuss book. I love him. Horton Hatches the Egg. Sighed Maisie, a lazy bird hatching an egg. I'm tired and I'm bored, and I've got kinks in my leg from just sitting here day after day. It's work, how I hate it. I'd much rather play. I'd take a vacation, fly off for a rest, if I could find someone to stay on my nest. If I could find someone, I'd fly away free. How does Maisie feel? What do you think? Is she happy or is she sad? Then Horton the elephant passed by her tree. "Hello," called the lazy bird, smiling her best. "You've got nothing to do, and I do need a rest. Would you like to sit on the egg in my nest?" The elephant laughed. "Why, of all the silly things, I haven't got feathers and I haven't got wings. Me on your egg? Why, that doesn't make sense. Your egg is so small, and ma'am, I'm so immense." "Tut, tut," answered Maisie. "I know you're not small, but I'm sure you can do it, no trouble at all. Just sit on it softly, you're gentle and kind. Come, be a good fellow, I know you won't mind." "I can't," said the elephant. "Please," begged the bird. "I won't be gone long, sir, I give you my word. I'll hurry right back, why, I'll never be missed." What do you think, friends? Can Horton the elephant sit on the egg? Let's find out. "Very well," said the elephant. "Since you insist, you want a vacation? Go fly off and take it. I'll sit on your egg and I'll try not to break it. I'll stay and be faithful. I mean what I say." "Toodaloo," sang out Maisie, and she fluttered away. Here goes Maisie. The first thing to do," murmured Horton. "Let's see. The first thing to do is to prop up this tree and make it much stronger. That has to be done before I get on it. I must weigh a ton." So let's see, what's Horton doing? He's propping up the tree so that he can climb up and sit on the egg. Do you guys think his plan is going to work? I don't know. Elephants are pretty big and eggs are tiny and they're delicate. Let's see. Then carefully, tenderly, gently, he crept up the trunk to the nest where the little egg slept. Look, there he goes. That's a very skinny tree. I wonder if it's going to hold a big, heavy elephant. Then Horton the elephant smiled. Now that's that. And he sat, and he sat, and he sat. Wow, he did it. He climbed all the way up on top of the little tree. And what's he doing? He's sitting on the egg. Wow, I wasn't sure he was going to fit, but he did it. And he sat all that day, and he kept the egg warm, and he sat all that night through a terrible storm. Look at that rain coming down. It poured and it lightened, it thundered, it rumbled. "This isn't much fun," the poor elephant grumbled. "I wish she'd come back, 'cause I'm cold and I'm wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget." What do you think? Do you think Maisie forgot about her egg and Horton? Poor Horton. He doesn't look very happy. But Maisie, by this time, was far beyond reach, enjoying the sunshine way off in Palm Beach. And having such fun, such a wonderful rest, decided she'd never go back to her nest. Oh man, do you see Maisie? Look at her. Up there on top of the tree, resting. She She's never going back to her nest. Do you think that's a good choice, friends? I don't think that's a good choice. She needs to go back to her baby, her egg. So Horton kept sitting there day after day, and soon it was autumn. The leaves blew away. And then came the winter, the snow and the sleet, and icicles hung from his trunk and his feet. Look at those icicles. Brr, cold. But Horton kept sitting and said with a sneeze, "I'll stay on this egg and I won't let it freeze. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. So poor Horton sat there the whole winter through, and then came the springtime with troubles anew. His friends gathered round and they shouted with glee, "Look, Horton the elephant's up in a tree." They taunted, they teased him, they yelled, "How absurd! Old Horton the elephant thinks he's a bird." Oh no. How does Horton feel? He looks sad. All his friends are teasing him. They're making fun of him. That's not very nice. Poor Horton. They laughed and they laughed. Then they all ran away. And Horton was lonely. He wanted to play. But he sat on the egg and continued to say, "I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Look at poor Horton up in the tree. No matter what happens, this egg must be tended. But poor Horton's troubles were far, far from ended. For while Horton sat there so faithful, so kind, 3 hunters came sneaking up softly behind. Look at the hunters. And look, there's Horton still on his egg. He heard the men's footsteps. He turned with a start. 3 rifles were aiming right straight at his heart. Oh no, poor Horton. Did he run? He did not. Horton stayed on that nest. He held his head high, and he threw out his chest, and he looked at the hunters as much as to say, "Shoot if you must, but I won't run away. I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Look at him guarding the egg on his nest. Wow, he's so brave. But the men didn't shoot. Much to Horton's surprise, they dropped their 3 guns and they stared with wide eyes. "Look," they all shouted. "Can such a thing be? An elephant sitting on top of a tree." Wow. It's strange. It's amazing. It's wonderful. New. Don't shoot him. We'll catch him. That's just what we'll do. Let's take him alive. Why, he's terribly funny. We'll sell him back home to a circus for money. Oh no, they're gonna take Horton. And the first thing he knew, they had built a big wagon with ropes on the front for the pullers to drag on. They dug up his tree and they put it inside, with Horton so sad that he practically cried. "We're off," the men shouted, and off they all went, with Horton unhappy 100%. Up out of the jungle, up into the sky, up over the mountains 10,000 feet high. Then down, down the mountains, and down to the sea went the cart with the elephant. Excuse me. Went the cart with the elephant, egg, nest, and tree. Then out of the wagon and onto a ship, out over the ocean, and oh, what a trip! Rolling and tossing and splashed with the spray, and Horton said day after day after day, I meant what I said, and I said what I meant, but oh, am I seasick 100%. Look, poor Horton doesn't feel good. They're taking him really far away. After bobbing around for 2 weeks like a cork, they landed at last in the town of New York. All ashore, the men shouted, and down with the lurch went Horton the elephant, still on his perch, tied onto a board that could just scarcely hold him. Bump! Horton landed, and then the men sold him. Sold to a circus. Then week after week, they showed him to people at 10 cents a peek. They took him to Boston, to Kalamazoo, Chicago, Weehawken, and Washington too, to Dayton, Ohio, St. Paul, Minnesota, to Wichita, Kansas, to Drake, North Dakota. And everywhere thousands of folks flocked to see and laugh at the elephant up in a tree. Poor Horton grew sadder the farther he went, but he said as he sat in the hot, noisy tent, I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Then, one day, the circus show happened to reach a town way down south, not so far from Palm Beach. And dawdling along way up high in the sky, who of all people should chance to fly by but that old good-for-nothing bird, Runaway Maisie. She was not very nice. Still on vacation and still just as lazy. And spying the flags in the tents just below, she sang out, What fun! Why, I'll go to the show. There's Maisie. And she swooped from the clouds through an open tent door. Good gracious, gasped Maisie, I've seen you before. Poor Horton looked up with his face white as chalk. He started to speak, but before he could talk. Look, he's still on his tree. There rang out the noisiest, ear-splitting squeals from the egg that he'd sat on for 51 weeks. A thumping, a bumping, a wild alive scratching. My egg, shouted Horton. My egg! Why, it's hatching. What do you think's gonna come out of this egg, friends? What is the egg gonna hatch and turn into? If I had to make a prediction or a guess, I would think it would be a baby bird, right? Because it's Maisie's egg. Let's see what happens. But it's mine, screamed the bird when she heard the egg crack. The work was all done. Now she wanted it back. It's my egg, she sputtered. You stole it from me. Get off of my nest and get out of my tree. Poor Horton backed down with a sad, heavy heart. Oh, he did all that work. Now she wants to take the egg back. That's so sad. But at that very instant, the egg burst apart, and out of the pieces of red and white shell, from the egg that he'd sat on so long and so well, Horton the elephant saw something whiz. It had ears and a tail and a trunk just like his. What hatched? It's a baby elephant bird. Look how happy he is. Aw, yay, Horton. And the people came shouting, What's all this about? They looked and they stared with their eyes popping out. Then they cheered and they cheered and they cheered more and more. They'd never seen anything like it before. My goodness, my gracious, they shouted. My word! It's something brand new. It's an elephant bird. And it should be like that, because Horton was faithful. He sat and he sat. He meant what he said, and he said what he meant. And they sent him home, happy 100%. Look, there's Horton with his new baby elephant bird. And all his friends are happy to see him back. Yay! The end. That was such a good story. I think that's a really cute story. All right, friends, before we go, I want you to think of two things. First, who I always do that. Who are the characters in our story? So think, remember, characters have three things. What are they? Eyes, face, head. Good job. So who in our story has eyes, face, and a head? Let's think about it. Who are the characters in our story? The really important characters. And then I want you to think about what was the setting. So the setting tells us where the characters are. Where are the characters in this story? Where do you think? All right, friends, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for reading this story with me, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.